And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everybody. You are taking a live look in Starbase, Texas, at the Massey's testing site, where it appears that we have propellant load underway on Ship 35 ahead of testing. Based off of the lines that we're seeing, could there potentially be a static fire? We'll have to watch and all find out together. I am Zoe Rosenstein. I will be your host for this evening's testing as we get ready, finally, for Starship Flight 9 action. And I, of course, am not alone for this. I am joined on commentary tonight by Mr. Max Evans. How's it going, Max?
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Sawyer. Yeah, Ship 35 is alive once again over at Massey's, and considering how much anticipation there is around it in the Flight 9 campaign, we are eager to keep eyes on, and the static fire testing is what we are hoping to see next. So fingers crossed on what we will be able to see.
Oh, I'm hopeful that we get to see some good views tonight, especially because we have our team out there tonight as well. We have Gage out in the fields helping to bring us some views here tonight. And then Caesar out there helping along with everything there too. And of course, we have our amazing team of operators that are helping with everything related to Starbase Live and our 24/7 cameras out there. And the person making all of this happen on your screens tonight is Mr. Kevin Michael Reed. So a reminder, if you have any questions, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight. We will do our best to answer as many of them as we can, and then once Mr. Kevin Michael Reed presses a magic button and it pops up on my panel, we will be able to answer them for you. So let's start things off, Max. What are we seeing here tonight? What indications are we seeing ahead of testing?
Well, I think the most obvious thing that we are seeing with our Mark 1 eyeballs is the tank farm over at Massey's is alive and running. We are seeing a lot of vapor around the vaporizers and condensers on both the LOX and the methane side, and we are also seeing a bit of a frost line on the very, very bottom of the methane tank and the liquid oxygen tank as well from the perspective of the Rocket Ranch, and we cannot thank them enough for all that they do for us and their camera over there as well. But since Ship 35 is back at Massey's, it has had its Raptor engines installed, and it's on the static fire stand, and it's over the flame trench over there. That those are direct indicators that the next step in Ship 35's test campaign before Flight 9 is static fire testing. And so we are hoping to see that either tonight or in the coming days. But either way, Ship 35 is finally out and about after waiting weeks and months for this after Flight 8, because it has remained the biggest question mark in the Flight 9 campaign as a whole, because SpaceX has been taking their absolute sweet time in any retrofits or any mods that they've had to do with either the engines, the plumbing, the tank structures, whatever they have had to do to increase its chances of success for the next flight, because the last thing SpaceX wants to do is have a third V2 ship in a row not make it to SECO and have an unfortunate end over the Gulf or into the Atlantic Ocean. But the first step in that direction is getting a successful static fire or static fires done, and we are hoping to see that very soon.
That is indeed what we are hoping for. It has been quite a while, and yes, the goal will hopefully be to not have a repeat of the RUDs on Ship 33 and Ship 34. Ship 35 is the one, And the one that we can definitely see at this point now has a frost line forming there on the methane tank. And we know that since this is out at Massey's, since they switched over from the suborbital pad, that at this point, we know that that is in fact methane and not just nitrogen to test out the tanks. And this is much further than we got during yesterday's testing.
At least time-wise, yeah. I mean, at this point yesterday, it looked like that they aborted all testing, but everything is... There's still a lot of activity over there, at least from what we can see, so... it looks like they're going to be pressing ahead with testing tonight so far. Keywords so far. We are not aware of any cutoff time that SpaceX has to meet before they have to call off all testing. So, as we also said yesterday, it looks like we are back to some good old Texas tank watching.
Just like the good old days. Yes, indeed. It says the two people who are on the other coast over on the Cape, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, real. The irony in that statement.
Let's see. Well, Historic Times is asking, what signs might we see that a static fire could happen tonight? Of course, we don't know for certain if it will or will not. This is just a tanking test. But what indications might we see if they do go for a static fire tonight, Max?
Well, I think the most obvious thing... These things to consider is that Ship 35 has already had its bespoke cryogenic proof testing campaign about a month and a half ago over at Massey's, and that is done over at a different stand at the test site, whereas now we have seen Raptors roll into Mega Bay 2, and we know now that Ship 35 has received those Raptors, and logically, as we've seen from previous ships, that the next step after that is completed is static fire testing, and now it is on the bespoke static fire stand and over the flame trench. So those are the biggest indicators that they are in that part of the test campaign. Now they have a few options for what they can do in terms of what fires they want to complete. The most obvious and the most common that we have seen are the 6-engine static fire, where we will see a nearly full prop load of both the LOX tank and the methane tank as well, to add ballast and flight conditions to make it easier on the stand, and then conduct a fire from anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds, although on Ship 34 they fired for a whole minute. That flame trench was not happy afterwards. But they did that in hopes to get a similar... I guess they hope to replicate the flight characteristics that cursed Ship 33 in flight. Obviously, didn't seem like that went very well, considering how Flight 8 went for Ship 34. But I think I don't want to say it's safe to say that they will not do a long-duration fire test at this point, but they could. But it might not be the best for the supporting infrastructure. So they could do a 6-engine test. We have also seen them over at Massey's do a single engine sea level Raptor test as well, to simulate an in-flight relight. But something else that we also have not seen in quite a while, we have yet to see it on a V2 ship, is they could also do a header tank static fire. And really, they need a full load of LOX in the LOX tank in order to add weight ballast to make it easier on the stand to hold the ship down either way. Now, we don't have any visual indicators exactly as to which engines are going to be fired until they light. If they do light all 6, we will see 2 separate flashes as all 3 sea level engines fire and then all 3 RVACs fire. Or we will see a single flash or a single smaller flash. That would be probably a result of a single engine firing. We don't know. They have many options to do, but considering how long they have taken to get Ship 35 to this point in the campaign, I think they are going to be very thorough in how they're going to be testing the Raptors in the coming days.
This is going to be very interesting. Yeah, we'll see if they dealt with any of the harmonics, the resonance issues that we saw during their report from Flight 7, and obviously some issues still pertained with Flight 8. But it'll be interesting to see if they do go for that shorter duration static fire, a longer duration one to try and retest all their fixes, or, as you said, they may just test everything out now with the single engine, do a spin prime. I'm interested to see what chat thinks tonight. So what do you think we are in for tonight? Do you think we're getting a static fire? Do you think this is just a spin prime testing here? And if they do static fire, how long do you think? I'm going to be interested to see what chat says on this as it scrolls through. Let's see. Static fire, full spin prime. Testing. Yes, that is a very good guess right there. It is going to be testing.
They are testing something, and likely Raptors, but they are testing something. I think it's pretty safe to say that at this point.
I think that's the most Alex answer. What are they doing? Testing.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, or 6 Raptors. Who knows?
That was clever. That you get a pun token for that. That was
Okay,
really good.
Fair enough. I was just rolling with it. Honestly, that was completely off the cuff.
Let's see. I see someone saying a 10-second static fire, 2-minute static fire. Let's hope it doesn't launch. This isn't China.
Oh, please no. That would suck. Like, it would be if for whatever reason we saw it, they ignited however many engines they did, and we for whatever reason saw it leave the stand. It would be funny. It would be terrifying. It would be absolutely depressing on where the Block 2 test campaign is. Like, it's this absolute roller coaster and inclusion of every single emotion possible. But hopefully it's a lot less dramatic than that. Hopefully.
By the way, your pun token is on the screen if you want to pocket that.
I'm good, thanks.
Fine, more for me. Anyway, reminder, tag your questions at NASASpaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. I do want to thank a couple people here first. Chromatic, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. David Newton, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Capcom and above, of course, gets access to the NSF Discord, where you can go tell Jack he's wrong about bagels and West Coast, Worst Coast. So thank you, David, for becoming a Capcom. We appreciate it.
So bagels or bagels?
Oh, jeez.
I guess it depends on where you're from.
Yeah, all right, I'll let that one slide because that's a pronunciation thing.
If Ryan was here, he would 100% say bagel because, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max, if it didn't mean that Sawyer was going to be completely alone, I would mute you.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Max.
Hi,
Guess
Kevin.
what?
What?
There's a ship getting frosty.
There's a ship getting frosty at Massey's, and it's finally ship 35 at last.
Oh my God.
Did you know last time they caught a booster?
They did catch a booster. Yes. They've done that a couple times now, I think.
3 times now, actually. But who's counting?
3 times. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's like sci-fi in action.
Oh, actually, in Gage's feed right now, I think I see the SpaceX drone just above the nose of the ship.
Is that one by the nose of the ship, or is that... Oh, yeah, now I see it on his view.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the other view. I was seeing it, too. Beautiful.
Which is it's a sign of something. We can't really say if it's a good sign or a bad sign, because either way, it's out there to inspect and get a good view of whatever they need that their other engineering cameras can't give them, but also that drone is going to be out there to hopefully get some footage of whatever fire takes place. So, but the drone being out there is for sure a sign that that activity is certainly either planned or they're definitely pressing ahead.
Yes, and we're also able to see from our different camera angles, there is certainly a growing frost line on the methane tank. So that is a good sign here. Of course, loading the locks there as well, you see all of the frost happening. But yeah, you could see it there. There is a small little frost line on that methane tank, a bit up the tank there, a bit up the ship there. So you should be able to see that. Bruce T with the $20 super chat saying... Sorry, $19.99 for the NASASpaceflight FLIR camera and Bacon Fun. If you know, you
FLIR
know.
camera, infrared camera, yes, absolutely. We need...
Oh, that tank farm just got a lot quieter, it looks like. It was a lot more action happening.
Does that mean they are pressing? They're pressing all systems, or... I mean, there is still a good amount of frost on both the methane tank and the LOX tank compared to what it was even just a few minutes ago. So, and that could be a sign that they are getting near to a possible T0 of sorts. So it's not the end of the world, and certainly Ship 35 is still well and alive. So we could be getting close to some testing here pretty soon.
Yeah, that usually happens before we see testing there, or, non-testing, I guess, is the way to not jinx it by saying the other word, the S word. So,
we don't want the S word. Don't say it.
right. So that is a good indication here that things are progressing. TechRad is wondering, by the way, as we watch this, do we know if, when, how they fix the transfer tube harmonics issue? I don't think we've seen any official words of what they've done.
No, and usually SpaceX is pretty tight-lipped about whatever fixes they have they do to any of their vehicles until they opt to post about it either on X in detail before flight or even during their launch live stream. And for their Flight 8 live stream, they dumped a ton of information about the vehicles and about future launch sites, i.e. those here in Florida. But to this point, we have no idea exactly what retrofits or repairs or of sorts that they have done to either the downcomers in the LOX tank or anything. So we are waiting to see. I mean, assuming the static fire or static fires either tonight or in the coming days, depending on how they go, I'm sure SpaceX will say something for sure about it.
Yeah, they usually, at least after the testing, will post a X post about something. But
Yes.
hopefully, we get that full detail ahead of Flight 9 of, hey, here's all the things that we've changed from Flight 8 and all of that. Let's see here. David is asking, why wouldn't they load it to levels of prop in the tanks to match that before the failure in flight to see how the new plumbing holds up? So why not load it up to basically where it was at the stage 2 ignition there?
I mean, you certainly could, but I think that this boils down to two separate, I guess, factoids. So the first being, when you are vertical on a test stand like this and you are firing static or static firing, you are firmly attached to the ground, and you want as much weight in the vehicle as possible to make it easier for those hold down clamps. And because your ship weighs more, you are stressing out those hold down clamps or hold down mechanism less. If they are really stressed out or perhaps overstressed by an underfueled vehicle, you get what we saw in China not that long ago where a static fire turned into an unintended launch, and that would make for a bad day for a lot of people. So I think weight is better, but also even if you brought both propellant tanks down to the levels that they would be in flight, that isn't exactly a direct simulation, and there are certain loads, and I guess there are certain loads on the vehicle that you just cannot simulate on the ground, and that can only be done in flight, and that's why in-flight testing data is incredibly valuable, but you can only simulate so much on the ground. I think that's what it pretty much boils down to. I mean, we saw that with the full minute static fire of Ship 34, and that was their attempt to simulate or try to copy the flight conditions that cursed Ship 33. And even though I don't think the exact reason for Ship 34's failure was identical. I think it's safe to say it wasn't, but obviously they weren't able to fully copy exactly what happened to Ship 33, because obviously Ship 34 met its demise. So again, TLDR, there are only so many systems that you can simulate on the ground.
Yeah, and again, you're also dealing with the fact that that's a lot of propellants to load. You pretty much, for a static fire or any kind of engine fire testing, might as well just load exactly what you need to test the engines, to test the systems. Of course, I know there's concerns about the mass and balance and the fuel transfers as things went uphill, but even if you load it all the way to the top of the vehicle, you're not going to be able to actually test that while you are, static on the ground. Also, just like me, I also am not good like that under pressure and will blast off if I'm too stressed, so I get it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Sawyer. Oh, jeez. Pun token on the screen. There it is.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin, for the pun token. At this point, it's looking like the frost line is pretty stationary. I haven't seen it grow, especially with how quickly it's been climbing. in the last couple of minutes here.
The frost line, yeah, it's stationary, and also the SpaceX drone that you can see in on the feed on the right is just standing there, or it's hovering there, I should say. So, and usually SpaceX only does that when they are getting in position for some kind of testing, and so this could be a sign that we're getting really close to something. But again, time will tell.
Exactly. As we hit 10:45 p.m. in Starbase, we are continuing to watch testing here of Ship 35 at the Massey's test site in Starbase. We are that much closer with this, hopefully, to Flight 9 of Starship. And of course, I know all of the questions are, when Flight 9? Max,
It'll
what's your
launch.
prediction?
It'll launch when it launches. I think that is something that we can say with absolute certainty. But honestly, we are really hoping May, because the longer they delay any further flight testing, the more delayed any further flight testing SpaceX needs to get done for HLS and other commercial uses. So the sooner that they can get Flight 9 off the ground, the better. But I'm hoping May. I'm thinking mid-May at the earliest right now, but who knows?
Yeah, because I saw Mojang was with the super asking about maybe potentially 2 weeks. I think that we're looking at a lot of it's going to depend on the testing here today. I think is it just a spin prime? Is it a static fire? How does that static fire go? So I think depending on that, I think May is definitely a safe bet. I guess the question of when in May is really what it comes down to. My guess, I'm just going to put out third week in May so I don't give one of those nonchalant answers that doesn't actually answer the question. But we will, of course, see what happens right here tonight.
I mean, we could always just say that in 2 weeks, Starship will.
Starship will.
Starship in 2 weeks. Starship will. That's it. That's the joke. That's it.
Yeah, no, that was good. Also, I don't know who Will is, but now I want to meet him.
No pun token for that.
Oh, come on, Kevin.
Burn. Denied.
Let's see. Saad is asking, any idea when a Raptor 3 might fly? Because these are still using all of the Raptor 2s, at least for this upcoming flight, Max, right?
Yep, correct. Raptor 3 either needs V3 ship or definitely... at this point, I think we have seen SpaceX skip V2 booster and go right to V3 based on the article that the tank article that we saw, but that's all speculation. But it at least needs a next generation booster or maybe like a V2.5 ship with a V3 Raptor retrofit.
Oh, here we go.
But, how about that?
Well, there's your answer.
There's your answer. That was 100% a static fire, and that looked like a smaller flash like we were talking about. So that looked like it was either... That looked like... Yeah, I think it's safe to say that was a single engine, a single sea-level engine static fire. At least that's how it looked.
It looked like a single engine there, too. I think that was about 10 seconds or so. I'm sure our team behind the scenes is already doing the math and doing all the calculations and just see how long that was. And
But there
we'll
we
see
go.
if they do any other testing or if it was just that single static fire test tonight. Because there's always a chance that they can do more, right?
There is, and we have seen it before, but not in a while. They have yet to do like a rapid turn static fire over at Massey's, especially over at this new site, this new location. SpaceX drone now moving over to the right.
That just zoomed out of there, yeah.
Yeah, it did. But I think at this point, SpaceX is in no... You could say on one hand that they are in a real hurry to get Ship 35 and Booster 14 off the ground for Flight 9, but also they kind of have to take their time and make sure every bit of testing and just make sure it's all done right. So I think with firing a single engine, it looked like tonight is the first step, and we may be seeing in the coming days, depending on how the data looks from this test, we could be seeing a test of all 6 engines here in the next few days, hopefully.
Yes, that would be nice. Not to have this thing roll back, keep it out there, keep testing it, and get everything ready for Flight 9. Because
Yep.
we've seen all the shuffle with Ship 36 moving around, and now Ship 35 out.
The Starship Shuffle. That is what has been happening over the last few days.
Yes, the Wild, the Innocent, and the Starship Shuffle. Anyway, we'll get the replays for you here, and we will see exactly how long that static fire went for. We'll take a look, make sure, all indications are that it's one engine, and this probably bodes better for the flame trench of a 6-second single engine fire as opposed to the 1 minute long fire from the previous one.
Yeah, no kidding. And so that looked like it was about 6 seconds long, and if that was a single engine test, like we think it was, that looks about like how an in-flight relight would look. So that could have been what this test is. It's interesting that they would first test, or that they would first try to simulate an in-flight to do an in-flight relight before a 6-engine static fire, but I guess that's just what they wanted to do.
That could be. It also could just be testing out the systems, making sure all the plumbing and everything works in case there were any changes that they did make behind the scenes that we don't know about following Flight 8. Just test all of it, test the plumbing, make sure that you can get an engine going. And now that we do that, then you go ahead and go for the full 6-engine, slightly longer duration, potentially fire afterwards.
Yes.
Let's see. Again, we'll work on getting some replays of everything that happened here. It appeared to be, as you mentioned, a 6 or 7 second static fire here of Ship 35 at Massey's ahead of Flight 9. Let me take a second to thank some people here. Cosmic Nebula gifting 10 Red Team memberships, 5 earlier and then 5 just now. Thank you very much for that. William Cap becoming a Capcom member. The pun writes itself right there. Hopefully we will see you in the NSF Discord. And then Drunar asking, would some 480-volt haptic motors help simulate flight conditions? Just put it on a shaker table. What do you think?
Whatever floats your boat. Sure.
Well, no, that would shake the ship, not float the boat.
Oh, God. Sawyer.
Let's see. I guess now the thing that we would look for would be for a depress vent, potentially, if they are going to detank this thing, right? Or what else will we be looking for now?
I mean, at this point, we will be looking out for either the frost lines going down on both the methane and the LOX tanks, activity to really ramp down at the tank farm, and or listening to any depress venting coming from the ship. That would be an indicator that they are wrapping up testing for tonight. But at the moment, I don't think we can see or hear any depress venting. So it looks like, they are just holding ship where it is right now. We are waiting to see what happens next.
I mean, that could also be part of the testing, is just seeing how the tanks hold at pressurized levels for a little bit longer after the static fire. So,
and now Gage and both Caesar and Gage telling us in the back channel that they have heard a depress vent. So that would be an indication that they are wrapping up testing for this evening.
Well, there's your answer on the depress question, folks.
Yeah, I know.
Ask, and apparently you shall hear and receive. Werner von Karman was saying, didn't SN9 do 3 fires in a day?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Yes, it did. And it didn't. Isn't that the one that almost ended really badly for it, or was that SN8?
They both ended up badly in the end, but
well, yes, but like when they were still on the ground during testing. Yeah, I think SN9 did 3 static fires in very close proximity, but I can't remember. I sound so bad saying this, but I can't remember if it was SN8 or SN9 that had a bit of what's the? It's not concrete. It's the tougher material come up into the engine.
The Fondag.
Fondag, yes, it came up and either severed a line or hit a valve, and
yes, that was 9.
The header tank was rapidly pressing up without control, and we were worried about there was a burst disc in the header tank, and we weren't sure if that was going to work or not, and of course it did.
Oh, no, that was 8. Okay, chat saying 8.
That was 8. Okay.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, still.
Let's see here. Hugh Mann was asking, as we continue to watch things here at Massey's, over at McGregor this morning, there was a bit of an incident. Asking any thoughts on the Raptor Rudd at McGregor this morning. Looked like it was a gimbaled test. There was, for those who aren't aware, what appeared to be a rapid unscheduled disassembly at one of the Raptor stands down at McGregor where they test the engines, where we have 24/7 cameras as well. It looked like it was one of the Raptor 2s that was being tested that had the issue. Haven't heard or seen anything official on that yet, but obviously the Raptors that are on Ship 35 seem to be working okay tonight, but haven't heard anything else, unless you have, Max, about the McGregor Rudd from this morning.
I'll be completely honest, I have yet to see that clip, so I can't really comment on it until then.
Well, the people that watch our McGregor Live 24/7 will get to see that clip as it happens, and all the other static fire incidents and testing, I should say, not just incidents, down there. So make sure you check out McGregor Live, now celebrating 3 years live on NSF. It appears we have some replays here, so let's take a look together. Looked like one engine, 6 seconds was my count there.
Agreed. I would concur.
We don't need any more of these. Actually, we do need more of these.
We do. We need we need at least 5. We need the other 5 to fire as well at this point.
Yeah.
So we do need more of these.
So it looked like there was a flash and then almost a secondary flash. I'm guessing that was right before the engine cutoff there, from what I could see.
Yeah, Raptors tend to have a very fiery shutdown. They get very fuel rich, and that is why we see usually a big flame come out of the bell after shutdown. And that's just part of the shutdown procedure. So yeah, that's usually normal.
That and the honk.
That and the honk.
That is so cool, seeing it light up the sky right as it started, and then right before the shutdown there. That is a cool view from a distance. Interested to see what chat's reaction is to all of this here. Let's see. Here's another awesome angle.
I think this was Gage's angle.
Oof. Beautiful. You can see the heat still underneath Ship 35. I'm guessing it looked like at least the flame trench did its job this time. It didn't get absolutely, totally toasted.
I mean, we'd hope so, right? I mean, if it had issues with a single Raptor, it wouldn't stand a chance with all 6.
Yeah, true. That's again taking a look at the replays of this here. Sorry, just being quiet during it, watching it. You can almost see that kind of little flicker there too.
Yeah, we always fall into just pure observation mode whenever replays come up. Just making sure that we see everything that we possibly can. Great angle here from CP11. Great angle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though it's mostly TPS and we can't really see the frost line, but that's okay.
I see people saying, could it have possibly been more than one engine? Could it have been maybe 2 engines?
I mean, maybe? It's tough to really say. We don't have a direct view of the engine section of Ship 35, other than just the flashes that we see. But the size of the flash that we did, and I guess the amount of orange flare-up that we saw at shutdown, that lines up with what we've seen with other single-engine tests. So that is why we think it was a single-engine test. But of course, we will wait for SpaceX to confirm.
Yes, I do miss the suborbital pad days where there were no walls up or anything, and you can get all the views looking at it. But
Yeah, oh well.
Exactly. As the French say, Sid Levine.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, I intentionally mispronounced it because it's supposed to be funny. Um,
Well, that one landed just about as well as SN8 did on the landing pad.
Heyo. That was
Got him.
really good. Eric Frazier, one of our mods here, asking, do you think this is the same test they had planned for last night, or do you think last night would have been more engines? I mean,
tough to say. The level of frost that we've seen on both tanks is very similar to what we saw yesterday. So yesterday could have been an aborted static fire test, or it could have been some other test with just the cryo. But it lines up with what we saw yesterday. So we aren't 100% sure. SpaceX still has yet to say anything about yesterday's test. But from what we can infer from what we've seen, they look to have very similar levels of prop in both tanks. So it could have been an aborted test, and that's what my gut tells me.
yeah, we also don't know how many engines that would have been, why they aborted. Was it something with ground system? Was it something with the vehicle? Was it just something arbitrary? We don't actually know. But, I mean, we'll see what testing they do from here and how quickly they would go for the next testing on it. What do you think? I'll give my answer after yours, Max. When do you think we would see any additional testing, say 6 engines on this vehicle being tested?
I mean, it depends on how the engine performed, how good the data looks. We could see it as soon as tomorrow, honestly, knowing how SpaceX moves. But for sure, if this all went well and everything looks within the parameters that SpaceX wanted, I would honestly say within 1 to 3 days that we could see a full 6-engine test. I know they are very keen to get Ship 35 tested and back to Mega Bay 2 for final flight preps, but very soon. I will say for sure very soon.
Yes, very soon, TM.
Yeah,
and
soon
then,
TM.
And then, of course, we have the booster as well, which, as Elon has pointed out, is set to be a reflight of a booster, with 14 making its next flight. So lots of still exciting testing to come there. Let's see here. Ninja Decimator. Pew, 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 pew. Thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. We appreciate you, despite how pathetic our commentary might be about this sometimes. Thank you, Ninja Decimator.
Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, there's Kevin.
Who needs a soundboard when you have the voice of God himself? Johan is asking, when the static fire is done, how long is it usually to launch at minimum? 3 weeks, ? I mean, it usually ends up being about the 3-week range. Recently, it feels like 3 to 4 weeks, but they could be trying to cut that down. Max, any thoughts?
Yeah, based on previous timelines, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, usually closer to 3. But it depends on how much more prep work SpaceX still has to do on Ship 35. So, yeah, I would say I would err on the side of caution and just say 3 weeks, and anything quicker would be just a bonus.
Exactly. As we've seen, SpaceX occasionally moves things to the left on the calendar, like the Starlink the other night by an hour, but...
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know, maybe they'll move this flight to the left by an hour now. Just mess with all of our planning, even though we don't even have a date yet to plan.
What even is planning, honestly, at this point?
True. Very true. GeoFS is asking, do you think they would catch Booster 14 on Flight 9, IFT-9, and reuse it again?
Dangerous point to make there on the IFT.
They said it.
I mean, we've all seen the rumors going around about how they were going to toss Booster 14 and conduct some other testing up high with steeper approach angles and such. In my opinion, SpaceX still needs as many boosters as they possibly can to support V2 ships and potentially early V3s or V2.5s, whatever they end up going with. So I think throwing away any boosters at this time would just be wasteful. considering they have built their last V1 booster. So they need as many as they possibly can. So SpaceX hasn't said anything either way, but I would just err on the side of saying it would be wasteful to toss a booster, and any testing you want to do with either a steeper reentry profile or whatever else, or a 2-engine landing burn. Yeah, I think tossing boosters at this point just feels wasteful.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it continues to help test their test all of the ground systems too, test all of the chopstick arms, the catch mechanisms, all of the steering mechanisms and everything. And again, the proof that you can refly a flown booster and recatch said flown booster. As much as SpaceX has reflown boosters that have landed, they have not reflown and recaught a booster. So that would be really exciting to be able to see that and just prove the basically structure of the vehicle, that it can withstand multiple catches and multiple slaps with those arms.
Yes.
Hey, Sawyer.
Hey, Kevin.
Have we counted if any tiles have come off the ship?
Don't believe we have.
We have not, but also I don't know if our camera angles, especially in these dark night conditions, are sufficient enough to be counting individual tiles. I don't see any spots that have, or any gaps that have occurred in the TPS since the fire, but I don't know.
I'm going to bring up a camera that's actually frozen now because we've turned it off.
Okay.
But this is after the fire. I'm just wondering, some of those spots up near the top, or were those there before the fire?
The ones that are more prominent toward the top, those were there before. I remember I've seen pictures from our team and others in Starbase that it was already missing some tiles, both on the mid upper section of the TPS side, and also on the bottom. Those were already gone.
Okay.
But otherwise TPS looks good. So, but I'm not sure if you want to A/B it, but for a before and after, maybe we could. But
yeah, I might do another pull and just have a look at it and see if we can see anything falling off. Because that's another major thing that needs to be worked on to have a successful re-entry.
And a V2 ship has yet to make it to that point, unfortunately. But hopefully this will be the first.
Hopefully. I'd like our stream to be longer than 30 minutes after liftoff,
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, as someone who edits the videos immediately after, I would like more time as well, please. Okay, thanks. But yeah, from what I could just see looking at Max's X post about it, it looks almost identical. But they have removed a bunch of tiles from the version 2 ships, from the Block 2 ships, and we have not yet to see how well they withstand the heating now, especially with the re-angled flaps and all of that. So there's a lot that they still have not been able to test because of it getting to that point, but it seems like they've gotten the tile structure pretty well. I mean, compare that to Columbia's arrival at KSC.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The late 70s.
Don't even get Crispy started on that one. Thankfully, he's not here to talk about that at the moment, but yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I could go on an hour for that, but that's what we have Shuttle Sundays for. Let's see here. A bunch of people saying could it have maybe been 2 engines. We'll have to see. Johan asking, I assume the FAA is still in the calendar driving seat pushing it right? Or is this an indication they are closing the investigation? I think at this point, the main thing is that they are going to continue the testing regardless up to this point, because even if you do not have a launch license, SpaceX can still do all of their ground testing. They can do all of the static fires. They can do all of the prop loads, all the cryos, anything, insert Adrian Rapp here. Whatever they need to do on the ground, as long as it doesn't leave the launch pad, they can do it. They could technically do a launch attempt all the way up to, but not including, engine ignition. So I think that they are going to continue to test, and as they test more, they will be able to get the data that they need to finish their investigation, or at least if not finish it, get it to a point where the FAA says that there is no risk to public safety and that they can proceed while the investigation is ongoing. So I think this is just as much a part of it as it is a driving factor.
I mean, and we saw it with Flight 5. They got the approval to fly like the day before, 2 days before, and then they flew, and they can get everything ready to fly so that the instant that they get the actual approval, they can just launch. So that is their way of doing things the most efficiently. And who knows, the FAA might also need this data specifically to move along with the current mishap investigation with Flight 8. So it's tough to say because we don't have much of a public. I mean, there is no public perspective on that investigation, unfortunately. So it's all speculation. But it could all happen. It could all happen very quickly.
Yeah, and that's what we hope. Usually, once they start doing all the vehicles shuffling around really quickly, that's kind of an indication that they're getting close to a point where they and the FAA and everyone says, yeah, we can probably go ahead and try for an attempt and expect the paperwork in time. Keep going with your questions here. In the meantime, I know Kevin's working on doing the little before and after check on our tileage there. Here's one from 90063 asking, could they run 6 engines at first for a few seconds, then shut down the gimbal ones and run just the RVACs for a long duration to reduce damage to the trench? I mean, I'm guessing they could do throttle testing, but I feel like they would rather just throttle as opposed to shut them down completely, because in terms of that kind of testing, they do have data from McGregor as well.
They do, and also I think they want to simulate as much of what they do in flight as possible. And with the RVACs being fixed in place, then they have no ability to gimbal with the ship in control direction. That just doesn't seem like something SpaceX would be interested in doing. So I don't think so.
Yeah, let's see here. Another look at the replay on the left. And let's
just
a
single
tiles.
flash there. Yeah.
Well, let's also take a look at the tiles while we have it too. On the right is the live view. On the left is the same camera just at the beginning of the static fire.
It looks good to me.
As the great part from the movie My Cousin Vinny, identical.
I haven't seen that movie, I'll be honest.
It's a classic. You should totally watch it. Joe Pesci, Marissa Tomei. It's fantastic. You're not Adrian, so I'm not going to give you cred for it.
I've seen a lot more movies than Adrian has. I'll give you that.
That's why I'm not going to give you cred for it. And again, comparison. View on the left was just before static fire. View on the right is live.
I think it looks fine.
Just to the bottom right of that big square, is there slightly more tileage showing, or is that just... I think that was just the lighting. There we go, the lighting is now identical.
Trying to look. It could also...
Good.
It could just be the light in certain areas, but that TPS shield actually looks in really good shape. It's not.
I'm no
Go ahead.
tileologist, but I think it looks good.
Tileologist. I've never heard that one before.
I made it up, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I think it looks good.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if chat sees anything that we don't, other than people appreciating My Cousin Vinny. But yeah, no, everything. Cross your eyes until the images merge. There you go. Yeah. Someone's saying missing a tile down and to the right from that middle one. I think that was missing before the static fire too.
Yeah, there are a few patches, especially at the bottom of the ship, and also there's an area closer to the top section that is missing a few as well. Those were there before testing took place and before the static fire. It rolled out that way, so that's worth keeping in mind as well.
Exactly. Get that testing done, maybe be able to see things underneath the thermal protection system that they might want to look at, if there's any wires or cables or anything underneath it that they want to see during testing. Who knows? Because again, we've seen that they can take apart all of the tiles and reattach them to a vehicle surprisingly quickly. Remember when they did that? Let's see. Apocalypse Cow, Danger Moo gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. We can only do what we do because of support from viewers like you. So we genuinely appreciate you rolling out and joining us for the live streams and chatting with us, and also just hanging out over at Starbase Live, our 24/7 live cameras, where we can all Texas Tank watch together. And I think that's where we're going to head next. But I want to thank Max for joining me first tonight. Thank you, Max.
Hey, that was fun. I know we've been waiting on this for a while, and it's nice to see that Ship 35 has finally begun its static fire testing campaign. So it's been the single bottleneck of the Flight 9 campaign so far. So we are glad to see it.
Flight 9, we are coming for you. I also want to thank our field team that was out there tonight. Gage, thank you so much for rolling out, as well as Caesar, providing us some of the views that you saw. And of course, the entire Starbase Live robot army fleet was out there as well. And Kevin Michael Reed was the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and bringing in those feeds to your viewing device. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Don't forget, there's more launches coming up this week, so make sure you're subscribed and hit the notifications. And Max, we got more Starlinks to do. You ready for those?
Always, baby. Bring it.
All right, we'll see you for that one. In the meantime, have a good night, everybody.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FTE off. Bring in FTE off. It's orange! R45! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?